And it's called Palestine.
Oh.
This isn't the poem. I'm just introducing it. And but that's a good start to a poem, isn't it?
That's great.
There's also another dirty word, and that's refugee. And so I believe I subscribe to the philosophy of being an artivist, an artist, and an activist. And so I try and tell stories through my work that put a human face to the caricature that media makes out of anything that it has to do with humanitarianism. And this is a piece for that, and it's also my personal story. I am my grandfather's memories of sunshine streaming through olive trees, of women sitting around and clucking like hens as they crush garlic with spices to make that night's meal. Their men tend gardens, plow the fields of their baladi, their homeland. I am my grandfather's memories, remembering that he was raised as a Christian in a land of Muslims with Jewish friends. He played in the dirt with his future enemies, shared meals, and didn't yet know that history was in the making somewhere in Europe. I am my grandfather's memories and the things he doesn't even know yet, like he was one of millions of pawns negotiated in a deal that would alleviate the guilt of the world for crimes committed that they had no hand in. There was no hatred yet. I am my grandfather's nightmares, stories that came, horrors that caressed the ears of him, his parents, others in their community. It whispered that death was wiping out whole villages, that blood was being shed, so much that rivers ran upon the earth, turning it crimson. Violence was making the arid, land once fertile, wasted. I am my grandfather's nightmares, where he wished to be deaf to the stories of the Nakba, where to stay was to die, where to leave was to die. Death comes in many forms, and when your feet can no longer touch the ground you took your first steps upon, that's a form of death too. I am my grandfather's nightmares of the stories coming closer, of terror being sowed whilst the peasants plowed the land. He thought of the danger his aging parents were in. He thought of his own life ahead of him. He'd seen his people torn from the earth, no more roots, they wandered out dazed, confused, crying for their losses, mourning the dead, asking Allah what they did to deserve this. He'd seen whole villages razed to the ground, and he knew that a knock on the door was imminent, that the violence ravaging his land would not stop. In fact, it intensified daily, and so, knowing under occupation is no place to live, he left one day, saying goodbye to his parents. He swore he would send for them once he'd found somewhere safe. I am my grandfather's memories as he stepped out that door one last time, held his hand up to shield his eyes, breathed in slow through his nostrils, and forced himself to remember every smell. He opened his eyes wide, allowed them to sting, and looked upon his village one last time. He forced himself to remember every sight, that he closed his eyes and committed to memory all those memories before 1948, so that he would leave in love and not hate. Opening his eyes, I am his memory of walking away, of the crunch of dirt beneath his feet, of the earth's conversations with him, how the wind wished him well through the trees, and he responded with his heart, knowing he could never return. He swore to his homeland it would reside forever inside. I am my grandfather's memories as he immigrated to Lebanon to try to start again, how he worked long hours as a refugee in a foreign land, trying to gather the money required to save his parents from the death which was beckoning. I am my grandfather's memories as he managed to bring his parents over, then start his own family, getting married, having children, tragically losing a wife, getting married again, having more children, and trying to provide for them. I am my father's memories of being born into a displaced family, where the homeland is referred to constantly, where he had this sense that he belonged elsewhere, where the injustice was keenly felt, but where the world seemed not to care nor understand the plight of his people. I am my father's memories of a family striving to survive, always on the outside, and he as a child growing in another war-torn country, but knowing that he would leave before the army could get to him. I am my father's memories of being kidnapped twice, and twice being set free, for he did not subscribe to any form of religious extremism. I am my father's memories of constant warfare warfare, being shot by rubber bullets, choking on tear gas and listening to missiles soar overhead, hoping against all hope that their bullet-riddled apartment block would not be hit next. I am my father's memories of being 18 and knowing if he did not leave, that he'd have to bear a weapon and the death that comes with it, either behind it or in front of it. So he left that land, knowing he could never return. He became a deserter of a war he did not agree with. As his plane ascended toward the heavens, I am his memories of hope for a better future, but sadness that he may never see those whom he loves again. I am my father's memories of picking grapes in France, trying to get enough money to get further away. I am my father's memories of boarding a plane for Australia where he knew my mother to be and tearing up his passport, arriving as a refugee. I am my own memory of being 8 or 9 years old and listening to the voice of my grandfather on a tape he sent us from a land I can barely imagine, but whose food I eat, whose music I hear, whose history I am already learning. I am my own memory of being 10 or 11 years old and seeing my dad cry for the first time. My father knew his father was dying but couldn't return. He didn't get to say goodbye to his Baba on his deathbed. That's when I became my grandfather's memories. You see, he could no longer remember now that he had been buried. I am my own memory of being a teenager and struggling to exist between two cultures. One which sought me to hang on to a past and one which forced me into the future. One which sought to fill me with love and one which forced me to belong to this land. I am my own memory of trying to understand why my father was always so angry until I was old enough to see that where once my father had been a warrior, he was now nothing more than a warrior. And I mistook that fear of losing his land, his family, everything I took for granted for anger. I am my family's blood, where these memories, these histories course through my veins, where my own feet have not yet touched the soil of where my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my father's footsteps roamed. I am the memories of the displaced, the lost, the hidden, the lies, the propaganda, the hatred. I am the memories of blue sky, dry heat, homeless, Tabuli, Tabla. I am the memories of that lost land, and this land gained.